They say the morning tells you who you will become, but that morning, the morning Adewale disappeared, the sun rose like it always did, and still, everything broke. He woke up to the sound of generators coughing awake across the neighborhood. The air was heavy, humid, thick with dust and unfinished prayers. Lagos was already restless. Horns argued in the distance. Somewhere, a woman scolded a child. Life was loud. Adewale swung his legs off the mattress and stood, and when he reached for the door, his hand went through it. Not slipped, not grazed, passed through. He froze. Slowly, deliberately, he pressed his palm against the wooden surface again. This time, his arm followed, then his shoulder, then his head. And just like that, Adewale vanished. Not into darkness, not into light, into nothing at all. He was still there. He could breathe, he could think, he could hear the world moving around him, but the world could not see him. At first, he panicked. He stumbled backward, heart pounding, knocking over a chair that fell with a loud crack. No one reacted. Outside, a neighbor walked past the open door and didn't glance in. Adewale laughed. Then he cried. Then he laughed again. In West Africa, we grow up believing power is loud. It wears uniforms. It sits behind desks. It carries guns or holy books. But Adewale learned something else that morning. The most dangerous power is silence. He tested it. He walked into the street, invisible among the living. He stood between hawkers and politicians, between beggars and pastors, between lovers whispering promises they could not afford to keep. And people spoke, because people always speak when they believe no one is listening. He followed a councilman into a private office and heard about stolen funds meant for clean water, and he followed a popular preacher into a hotel room and watched him count money that smelled like desperation and faith. He stood in police stations and courtrooms and bedrooms and heard truths people buried beneath respectability. At first, Adewale told himself he was just listening, just learning, just surviving. But knowledge is never quiet for long. The city had taught him what hunger sounded like, what humiliation smelled like, what it meant to be ignored, overlooked, stepped on. Now the city was naked, and Adewale was holding the blade. He began anonymously at first, leaked recordings, documents dropped at newsrooms, voices uploaded from nowhere, secrets spilled like palm wine on hot concrete. A beloved principal exposed, a senator disgraced, a charity revealed as a laundering machine for greed. The people cheered. They called the invisible source a hero, a ghost, a curse sent to punish the wicked. Markets buzzed with speculation. Churches prayed louder. Politicians stuttered on television. Trust began to rot. Because once one lie is exposed, every truth becomes suspicious. Adewale didn't stop. He couldn't. Power tastes sweet when you've been starved. He exposed adulteries that destroyed families, bribes that shut down entire institutions. He leaked conversations taken out of context, truths sharpened into weapons. The city cracked. Friends stopped trusting friends, neighbors watched neighbors. Every whispered conversation felt like a trap. People stopped confessing to God, to each other, to themselves. And Adewale, he stood in the middle of it all, unseen, unaccountable, untouched, until the day he followed his mother. She was older now, tired, still praying for a son she believed was lost to the city's cruelty. Invisible Adewale sat beside her as she spoke with a neighbor. She was right to fire him, the woman said casually. He was lazy, always dreaming, always thinking he deserved more. Adewale felt something tear. Later that day, he followed his childhood friend, the one who had sworn loyalty, and heard him laugh about how Adewale's failure made him feel better about his own compromises. Every truth heard differently when it wore a familiar face. That night, Adewale released everything. No more selectivity, no more restraint. Private messages, confessions, half-truths mixed with full ones. He let the city burn itself with its own reflection. Chaos followed, riots, firings, suicides whispered about but never described. Institutions collapsed under the weight of mistrust. People begged for privacy, for mercy, for silence. And then, they begged for him to stop. But power does not know when to kneel. One morning, Adewale woke up and reached for the door again. This time, His hand stopped, solid, visible. He screamed. The world rushed back all at once. Noise, fear, consequence. His phone buzzed endlessly. News anchors spoke of an anonymous figure who had vanished overnight, leaving behind a city that no longer recognized itself. They wanted someone to blame, and for the first time in months, Adewale could be seen. He was arrested within hours. Not for everything, just enough. Enough to make him a symbol. Enough to let everyone else breathe again. In court, they called him a monster, a liar, a destroyer. No one asked why. In his cell, Adewale stared at his hands. Visible hands. Ordinary hands. He had wanted to expose the rot. But rot, once exposed, does not always heal. Sometimes it spreads. They say invisibility shows you the truth. But Adewale learned something darker. When you see everything, you stop believing in anything. And as the city slowly stitched itself back together, telling new lies to survive, no one remembered the man who vanished, only the damage he left behind.